right?
In fact, I haven't been this weight since I had cancer.
Right.
So I'm back to my cancer weight.
That's not a good thing.
No, it's not.
No,
it's
but
not.
you look great. You
Thank you.
You do look great. Do you feel good?
In the winter of 2023, Sharon Osbourne looked in the mirror and saw a ghost. It wasn't just the reflection of an older woman. It was a reflection she hadn't seen in 20 years. Not since she was lying in a hospital bed, veins pumped full of chemotherapy, fighting for her life against colon cancer. In fact, I haven't been this weight since I had cancer, so I'm back to my cancer weight. That's not a good thing. No, it's not. Back then, the weight loss was a symptom of dying. Today, it was a choice. At 71 years old, the most feared woman in entertainment had injected herself with Hollywood's favorite new drug, Ozempic. She wanted to lose a few pounds. She wanted a tune-up. But what started as vanity spiraled into a metabolic nightmare that she could no longer control. I can't put on weight now, and I don't know what it's done to my metabolism, but I just can't seem to put any on. For 50 years, Sharon Osbourne's life has been defined by one word: control. She controlled the wildest rock star on the planet when he was biting heads off bats. She controlled television networks. She controlled the narrative. But behind the cameras, something darker was happening. A pattern of alleged racism that followed her from show to show. Accusations of homophobic slurs hurled at colleagues. A trail of co-stars who left in tears, claiming they'd been psychologically destroyed. And a violent past that shaped her into the woman the industry would come to fear. This isn't just a story about a diet drug gone wrong. This is the story of a woman who survived her father's mob tactics, her husband's attempted murder, and cancer itself, only to become the very monster she once feared. Let's go back to where it all began. Long before she was the matriarch of reality TV, Sharon was a little girl living in a war zone. She was born Sharon Rachel Levy on October 9, 1952, in London's East End. Her father was Don Arden, a man the British press called the Al Capone of pop. He was a music manager, but he operated like a mob boss. Sharon didn't grow up with bedtime stories. She grew up with threats. She watched her father rule the London music scene, not with contracts, but with knuckles. There is a story that has become legend in the industry, one that Sharon witnessed the aftermath of. When a rival manager named Robert Stigwood tried to poach one of Don's bands, Don didn't call a lawyer. He and his heavy-set enforcers grabbed Stigwood, dragged him to a 4-story window, and dangled him by his ankles over the street below. Sharon was in the building that day. She heard the screaming. She learned early, mercy is a weakness, dominance is survival. But the violence wasn't just for business rivals. It lived inside her home. She has described her childhood as a chaotic blur of shouting, instability, and emotional neglect. Her mother, Hope, was distant, cold, barely present. Her father was terrifying, a man whose rage could erupt without warning. Sharon was molded in an environment where love was conditional and fear was the only constant language. She learned to read a room. She learned to detect danger. She learned that if you show weakness, someone will exploit it. By her teenage years, Sharon was working in her father's office, answering phones, scheduling meetings, watching how he manipulated artists and crushed rivals. She was studying at the feet of a master, and then she met him, the man who would change everything. His name was John Michael Osbourne, but the world knew him as Ozzy. In 1979, Ozzy Osbourne was a fired, washed-up singer with a catastrophic drug problem and no future. Black Sabbath had kicked him out. The industry had written him off. But Sharon saw something no one else did. She saw potential. She saw a brand. She saw an investment. But to her father, this was an act of war. Don Arden managed Black Sabbath. When Sharon decided to manage Ozzy, she wasn't just starting a business. She was committing treason. Don didn't just fire her. He cut her off completely. No money, no support, no family. But the betrayal went deeper. Sharon has claimed that during this period, while she was pregnant with her first child, her father set his Rottweilers on her. She says the attack led to a miscarriage. Think about that for a moment. The man who was supposed to protect her became her first great enemy. It hardened her. It taught her that if she wanted to survive in this world, she had to be tougher than the men, meaner than the bullies, and completely, utterly in control. She and Ozzy eloped in 1982 in Hawaii. She became Sharon Osbourne, and she got to work building an empire. The 1980s were a blur of cocaine, vodka, and madness. Sharon wasn't just managing Ozzy's career, she was keeping him alive. He was an addict of catastrophic proportions. Cocaine, alcohol, pills, anything he could get his hands on. Sharon became the warden. She hid his drugs. She fired his dealers. She screened his phone calls. She dragged him onto stages around the world when he could barely stand. She built the Ozzy brand from the ashes of Black Sabbath. She was the architect of the solo career. She was the one who created the Prince of Darkness persona. But you cannot tame a monster without getting bitten. And on September 2nd, 1989, the monster came for her. It is a story straight out of a horror movie. But for Sharon, it was a Tuesday night in Buckinghamshire. Ozzy, fueled by a cocktail of drugs and alcohol, walked into their bedroom. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't the chaotic clown the world would later see on MTV. He was eerily calm. He looked her in the eyes and said, "We've come to a decision that you've got to die." He lunged, his hands wrapped around her throat. The man she had built, the man she loved, was squeezing the life out of her. Sharon managed to hit a panic button near the bed. Police arrived within minutes. Ozzy woke up in a jail cell, asking the officers why he was there. He had no memory of it. He was charged with attempted murder. The world expected her to leave. She didn't. She dropped the charges. She sent him to rehab. She took him back. Why? Because Sharon Osbourne doesn't walk away from an investment. She doesn't let chaos win. She reasserted her dominance. She decided that if he was going to be the wild animal, she would be the steel cage. She turned that trauma into fuel, and together they conquered America. But the stress of living on that razor's edge takes a toll. And in 2002, her body began to fail her. In 2002, the world was watching the Osbournes. It was the height of their fame. MTV's cameras captured every chaotic moment of their family life. Kelly was a teenager with purple hair. Jack was the quiet middle child. Ozzy was the lovable, bumbling dad. And Sharon was the queen holding it all together. But behind the scenes, Sharon was fighting a secret war, colon cancer. The diagnosis was grim. The cancer had spread to her lymph nodes. Her survival rate was given as 33%. For a woman who controlled everything, this was the ultimate loss of power. She couldn't negotiate with a tumor. She couldn't bully it into submission. She endured surgery to remove a foot of her colon. She endured aggressive chemotherapy that stripped her of her hair, her energy, and her dignity. This is the period she refers to now with a shudder. The cancer weight, the sickness, the frailty. She survived, but something in her psyche shifted. She had looked death in the face and blinked. She vowed never to be that weak again. She began to armor herself. But this armor wasn't made of steel. It was made of silicone and surgery. Over the next 2 decades, Sharon Osbourne waged a war against her own aging process. Gastric bands to force weight loss, double mastectomies to prevent breast cancer, facelifts, eye lifts, tummy tucks, liposuction. She spent hundreds of thousands of dollars treating her body like a renovation project. She was open about it. She joked about it on talk shows. But there was a darkness underneath. In 2021, she underwent a facelift that she later described as horrendous. She told the press she looked like a cyclops. She said she looked like a mummy. She regretted it deeply. Yet the pursuit of perfection, or perhaps the flight from decay, continued. She was trying to sculpt a version of herself that couldn't be hurt, couldn't age, and couldn't die. But while she was carving up her body, she was carving a path of destruction through the entertainment industry. If the 80s were about survival, the 2000s were about dominance. Sharon became a judge on the X Factor UK in 2004, then America's Got Talent, then The Talk in 2010. She brought her father's mob tactics to primetime television. She became the queen of mean. Her feuds were legendary, and they followed a pattern. Disloyalty was punishable by public execution. Take Iron Maiden. At Ozfest 2005, when lead singer Bruce Dickinson mocked the Osbournes on stage, Sharon didn't sue. She organized an assault. She allegedly instructed her entourage to pelt the band with eggs during their set. She cut their power mid-performance. Then she walked onto the stage and called Dickinson a prick to his face in front of thousands. It was pure Don Arden. The crowd booed. She didn't care. Then there was Dannii Minogue. When the younger, beautiful Australian pop star joined the X Factor UK as a fellow judge, Sharon felt threatened. She launched a campaign of psychological warfare. She mocked Dannii on talk shows, implying she was only hired for her looks. During one memorable backstage moment, when asked for a photo of Dannii, Sharon allegedly turned around and showed her backside instead. Reports from backstage described Dannii in tears, broken by Sharon's relentless bullying. Sharon called Ashton Kutcher a rude little boy after he allegedly didn't acknowledge her at an event. She made vomiting noises when Ellen DeGeneres was mentioned on the talk. She publicly mocked Simon Cowell, calling out his man boobs and plastic surgery. She was untouchable. She was the truth teller. But behind the scenes, something much darker was allegedly happening. The allegations started quietly, whispers from former colleagues, stories that didn't make it to the press, but they all followed a disturbing pattern. In 2021, after Sharon's explosive on-air fight about Piers Morgan and Meghan Markle, the floodgates opened. Former co-hosts from The Talk came forward with allegations that painted a very different picture of Sharon Osbourne. Holly Robinson Peete, who co-hosted the show's first season in 2010, claimed Sharon had her fired. According to Holly, Sharon complained to the network that she was too ghetto for the show. Holly, a respected actress and autism advocate, was devastated. She said Sharon's influence got her removed from a show she helped create. Leah Remini, another former co-host, backed up Holly's claims. Leah alleged that Sharon used racist and homophobic language behind the scenes. She claimed Sharon referred to Julie Chen, the wife of CBS CEO Les Moonves, as slanty eyes and a wonton. The allegations were explosive. Sharon denied them. She called the accusers liars. She said they were jumping on a bandwagon to destroy her. But then came the moment that changed everything. The episode of The Talk that aired on March 10, 2021, will go down as one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime television history. The topic was Piers Morgan's comments about Meghan Markle. Morgan had said he didn't believe Meghan's claims about experiencing racism in the royal family. Sharon, a friend of Morgan's, defended him on air. Her co-host, Cheryl Underwood, pushed back, and Sharon snapped. For 11 minutes, the cameras captured Sharon's rage. She demanded Cheryl educate her about why Morgan's comments were racist. She cried, she yelled, she accused Cheryl of making her look like a racist. The mask slipped. The world didn't see a powerful matriarch. They saw a bully. They saw someone whose first instinct wasn't to listen, but to attack. CBS launched an internal investigation. For weeks, Sharon was in limbo, and then came the verdict. She was fired. After 11 years on The Talk, Sharon Osbourne was out. CBS released a statement saying her behavior did not align with our values for a respectful workplace. Sharon released her own statement, apologizing to anyone of color that I offended. But privately, she was furious. She felt betrayed. She felt canceled. And then Cheryl Underwood gave an interview. Cheryl revealed that after the on-air blow-up, Sharon never called her, never apologized privately, never checked in to see if she was okay. Sharon later admitted in an interview with Bill Maher that she regretted the apology she gave. She said she was terrified and frightened when she issued it. She said CBS forced her hand. The subtext was clear. She didn't mean it. And then came Sharon's unfiltered response to all of it. In interviews that followed, Sharon didn't express remorse for her behavior. She expressed anger at being held accountable for it. I've worked in this industry for 50 years, she said. Everyone knew who I was. Everyone knew what I was like. And now suddenly it's a problem? It was the ultimate defense of a bully. You knew what you were getting. Ekadiwar 8th, the aftermath. The firing from The Talk wasn't just a professional setback, it was a cultural exile. For a woman whose entire identity was built on control and dominance, being publicly humiliated and discarded was unbearable. She lost her platform. She lost her voice. She lost the spotlight she had fought her entire life to claim. Friends in the industry distanced themselves. Networks stopped calling. The woman who had spent decades being the one who decided who stayed and who went was now the one being shown the door. And when a control freak loses control of their world, they turn that need for control inward. They turn it on their body. Late 2022, early 2023. Sharon is 71 years old. The TV shows are gone. The applause has faded. She decides she needs a change. She turns to Ozempic. Hey, you know, it's not a sin to use Ozempic if you have a weight problem, so why not talk about it? At first, it was just another tool in her arsenal, another surgery, another fix. She mocked the celebrities who lied about their weight loss. She positioned herself as the honest broker. They come up with something like, oh, I have a new trainer. Yeah, right, but the drug is powerful. Sharon described the first few weeks as hell. Constant vomiting, nausea, sickness that wouldn't stop. A normal person might quit, but Sharon Osbourne is not normal. She is a woman who stayed with a man who tried to strangle her. She is a woman who endured chemotherapy on camera. A little nausea wasn't going to stop her because the numbers on the scale were dropping. And that feeling is addictive. And then you get, oh, I can do more. Why not try it for another 2 months and see what happens? You know, you get that way with it. It is the whisper of addiction. The same demon that chased Ozzy for 40 years had finally found Sharon. She lost 45 pounds. She learned to dress to hide it, long sleeves, loose fits, strategic camera angles. but she couldn't hide her face. The Ozempic face took hold. The fat pads that keep a face looking young dissolved. Her cheeks hollowed out. Her skin hung loose. The public gasped. She didn't look like a movie star. She looked fragile. Sharon realized she had gone too far. She tried to stop. She tried to eat. But the dark truth of her experiment is that she may have broken the machine. I can't put on weight now, and I don't know what it's done to my metabolism, but I just can't seem to put any on. I think I went too far, and then I can't put it back on. For a woman who spent her life controlling billionaires, rock stars, and executives, this is the ultimate irony. Her own biology is no longer listening to her commands. She is trapped in a body that refuses to grow. She can't reverse what she's done, and in the quiet moments, the fear creeps in. She admits it. Yeah, I was scared. And then she makes the comparison that chills the blood. The comparison that brings her entire life story full circle. In fact, I haven't been this weight since I had cancer, so I'm back to my cancer weight. That's not a good thing. No, it's not. Cancer weight. Those two words carry the weight of 20 years of trauma. She survived the disease only to pay a fortune to replicate its effects. But even after all of this, the firing, the public humiliation, the Ozempic disaster, Sharon Osbourne hasn't changed. In interviews since her cancellation, she hasn't expressed genuine remorse. She's expressed resentment. She's positioned herself as the victim of cancel culture, the victim of wokeness, the victim of people who can't take a joke. She went on Piers Morgan's show and doubled down. She went on Bill Maher's show and complained about being silenced, while literally being given a platform to speak. She's framed her firing as an attack on free speech, rather than consequences for alleged racism and workplace toxicity. And that, perhaps, is the most chilling part of Sharon Osbourne's story. She learned nothing. She survived her father's violence and became violent herself. She survived Ozzy's attempted murder and stayed in control by controlling everything around her. She survived cancer and tried to cheat death through endless surgeries. She was fired for alleged racism and blamed everyone but herself. And when her body finally rebelled against her need for control, she couldn't accept that either. Conclusion: Sharon Osbourne is 73 years old now. She still stands, but she stands as a warning that you can survive violence, addiction, cancer, and scandal. But if you never learn, if you never change, if you never let go of the need to dominate everything and everyone around you, you will eventually become the villain of your own story. She wanted to be the Iron Maiden, impenetrable, indestructible, in control, but iron rusts. It breaks. And the woman who spent her life building armor ended up a prisoner inside it. Sharon Osbourne survived the violence of her father. She survived the madness of her husband. She survived the brutality of the entertainment industry. She survived cancer, but she couldn't survive herself. She couldn't survive her own cruelty, her own vanity, her own desperate need to never be weak. And now she stands, frail and hollow, unable to gain weight, unable to turn back time, unable to undo what she's done. At 73, Sharon Osbourne is still fighting. But the enemy isn't a rival manager or a rebellious rock star or a television network. The enemy is the woman in the mirror, and that is a fight she will never win. Fame hides everything until it doesn't.